up the volume and rip off the knob!
Good morning, friends, and welcome to Rent a Friend Radio. This is Brian from Shy in the Rent a Friend Radio studio. Thanks for joining us yet again. After you're watching this on video, I'm trying out the new hat. It's not a new hat, but it's new for the show, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure. But if you could see what the hair looks like, you'd be like, yeah, you need the hat, and that's why it's there. So, wanted to start today by giving my opinion about a couple of things, just to let you know how I'm feeling. So, here's what I have to say. As a parent, you are responsible for the well-being and happiness, health and welfare of your child. You have to feed them and clothe them, teach them to be good people, and take them to school. These little lives, made in your image, depend on you to help them, to hold them, to shape them, and to mold them. Frankly, it's a real drag, and it cuts into the time you could be spending chasing college girls or getting drunk. This is why our culture has started to move away from it all. No longer a Christian nation, we now have alternatives, options, more choices than the Christian West used to offer for the average man or woman. Now, obviously, I can't speak for myself in these matters. As a Christian, I am shackled to the religious constraints of selfless care and love for my children and spouse. God hates lies, so he expects me to keep the promises I made when I got married. You atheists have no idea what it's like. You could break those vows anytime you wish, or just don't make any vows at all. But let me tell you, swearing before God and man to love and honor, etc., a heavy deal. And beyond that, God demands I care for and provide for my family. I mean, I have to be involved. It's nothing but continuous responsibility. So believe me when I say, I understand the appeal of atheism. You have only your own primitive passions and innate desires to control you. You're not only free from religion, you're free from anything. An atheist has no reason to get married or stay married. An atheist has no reason to make vows or keep the vows they make. An atheist has no reason to have kids. Heck, you can legally have your children murdered by a professional baby killer before they're even born. Talk about an escape hatch. Baby gonna come along and take away your drunk at the strip club time? Nope. Kill, abort that little parasite. Daddy needs a little more me time. But in the event that you do let them live, you really have no incentive to pay them more mind than you really have to in order to keep them alive. And believe me when I say it isn't much. Besides, your desire to care for and nurture your kids is just your DNA trying to replicate itself. It's just as much a product of random mutations. I'm going to say that again because it's worth repeating. It's just as much a product of random mutations and natural selection as your eye color or your ingrown toenails. I know, it feels like your kids are valuable, but they are the same accidental decaying matter as the rest of the universe, like that 89 Buick LeSabre you have rusting away on cinder blocks in the side yard. Your kids are only valuable if you decide they are valuable to you. You get to make your own values. So when parenting is hard, atheism gives you some sound advice. Be selfish. Survival of the fittest can apply to your own family as well as to the rat race or the natural order. Let the little buggers fend for themselves. They know where the Captain Crunch and the TV remote are. Why do the hard thing and parent unless it makes you happy? You only live once. Why not focus on your own happiness, even at the cost of your own kids or spouse or anyone else? As long as there is divorce, infidelity, abortion, and good old-fashioned neglect, the American atheist has a lot of good alternatives to being a parent or spouse. Why else would you cling to a lie as stupid and indefensible as atheism? I have other thoughts like that you can check out at A Bit of Orange. In the meantime, I'm going to introduce you to a band called Ninja Bunny. This is a band called Breakfast Routine. Enjoy!
Early morning haze as the sun begins to blaze. I hit the kitchen stage all ready to engage. Got coffee brewing strong and my apron on. Gonna rock this breakfast song all day long. Sizzle and pop, let the bacon fry. A symphony of flavor. breakfast blast to start your day anew. I made this myself and I made this for you. Crack the eggs and baby, flip that toast, it's not a boast. When I say the first meal's the most of the most. Now wreck this breakfast as I slam this song. You'll be going strong all morning long. Sizzle and pop, let the bacon fry. A symphony of flavors, reaching for the sky. I made this for you, food fuel to fill you up. Eggs and toast until you've had enough. A breakfast blast to start your day anew. I made this myself and I made this for you.
Ninja Bunny with Breakfast Routine VR. It's the theme song from the video game. That was Ninja Bunny. They're friends with Dr. Cheese, and you're going to hear some music from the Dr. Cheese Experience later in the show, as well as a nice song from our friends at Sofa Drama. But in the meantime, I know what you're here for. You're here to learn some philosophy from your friend Bri from Shy, which is me, here at Chi-Town. So we are going to get ourselves back into the Socratic Ducky. Socratic Ducky, of course, is available. You can get it on paperback at Amazon, where all books are sold. And you can find the link for that and the free digital download at abitoforange.com. Go to A Bit of Orange, go to the free book section. There's the free digital download. But of course, if you want the paperback version, it's on Amazon. Welcome to Chapter 6, everybody. We've made it to Chapter 6. We're going through what I'm referring to as the metaphysical map. So that's in the middle of the, again, if you're on video, in the middle of the page here, the map shows that we start with God. He is the uncreated creator. He is the God of the Bible, and he's different than any other perceived God in the universe because he's uncreated and because he created the heavens and the earth. So on this map, I've got the word reality there. In the upcoming eventual updated version, that will say creation because God is real. So in that sense, he is part of reality. But what I mean is the real physical creation. So that was my fault. It's an old book. I wrote it a while ago. I'll fix it. All right. So where are we at? We're at reality and perception. All right. So God creates reality, by which I mean he creates creation, the material universe, but also the spiritual universe, the things we can't see, the things that are not observable through material means, angels and demons, and who knows what else, our own souls included. But then we can perceive the creation. We can perceive a lot of the physical creation, not all of it, some of it. And we can perceive it accurately or inaccurately, and that's why it splits between truth and illusion here. So that's what this chapter is about. Chapter 6, the glass door experience, reality, and perception. What do pizza, magic, and the Jedi have in common? You might say, it depends on your perspective, but actually it doesn't. That's what they have in common. Let me explain. If you think about the metaphysical map, you'll recall this. Perception is the five senses gathering information about reality through contact with it, through your eyes, ears, nose, skin, brain, etc. In English class, we call this your point of view. You'd know that if you weren't so busy hiding your iPhone in your textbook to download games, but this concept is discussed in more places than in high school English. Oh no, I've hit the wrong button again. Well, that's, yeah, so what did I do with it? Oh, it's this one over here. Wow. Okay. Let me just remind you guys. The show is free, so don't complain. Where was I? Book reading. In Star Wars Episode 1, Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn says, "Your focus determines your reality." I have no idea what he meant by this. I suspect George Lucas didn't either. The Jedi spent the whole series saying inane things that made no sense, like at the end of Episode 3 when Obi-Wan says, "Only a Sith deals in absolutes." So either he's a Sith, or he meant to say, "From a certain point of view, it is frequently the Sith that deal in absolutes, which we as Jedi would personally hold to be an error, though we are reticent in passing judgment." But then we all just wanted them to get to the lightsaber fight. In terms of this chapter's main point, I shall decide that Qui-Gon Jinn meant to say, your perception determines your reality. And furthermore, I shall define this to mean he is saying your reality is created by your perceptions. If you think that's a stretch, all I have to say is midichlorians. Now, it's true that your personal experience is determined by your perceptions. You experience what you perceive. Apparently, Qui-Gon had used the word reality when he should have said experience. Jedi are a lot of things, but they are not sticklers for metaphysical jargon. Reality has to exist before your perceptions, or you'd have nothing to perceive. It would be like saying, let's eat, and then let's go get some food. You can try to argue that somehow eating is your food, but you're still going to be pretty hungry when my stuffed crust pizza shows up and I refuse to share. You can't eat without the food, and you can't perceive a rubber duck without the rubber duck. Or can you? This is why the map branches off from perspective into two possible paths, truth or illusion. What you perceive, see, hear, smell, etc., can be true, accurately reflecting what is real, or it can be an illusion, something different than reality. This is where your unwashed, dope-smoking college professors or cult leaders will argue with me. They'll get all, no man, all perceptions are true. Now, before I explain why this is wrong, I want to point out the fact that they are arguing against something. In order to disagree with me, they have to first decide that there is a difference between truth and illusion. They are arguing for the idea which they believe to be truth and saying that my definition is wrong, in other words, an illusion. By arguing with me, they are agreeing with me. Need I continue? Well, I'm going to anyway. Can you perceive something which is not real? To prove that you can, I present for you a little something I like to call the glass door experience. It goes like this. You are walking toward what you perceive to be an open doorway. You do not see a door, you see an open passageway, and you believe with all of your little heart that the doorway is open and clear of obstacles. Then suddenly, without warning, you faceplant into the magical invisible force field of glass. Ow! As you pick yourself up off the ground, you come to discover that the door was there the whole time. Your perceptions were wrong. Leaving your faceprint on a clean glass door is a universal part of being human. I found that in a room of 30 people, it's rare to find more than 5 who would not have the glass door experience. In other words, all of us have believed an illusion and discovered the hard way that we had been wrong. Reality does not bend to our perception. Our perceptions, sometimes our noses, bend to reality. This is not always a bad thing. Consider magic shows. If you could not be tricked into perceiving something which was not so, it would be a pretty dull magic show. Here's a hat with a rabbit inside of it. Now I will pull the rabbit out of the hat. Right? And how could you pull off any decent pranks? You'd all be like, would you like a stick of gum that tastes like dirt? I mean, plus you'd never enjoy a movie. A movie is actually a series of still images played so fast that you cannot accurately perceive the fact that it is a series of still images. Your brain creates the illusion of movement because of its inability to perceive the individual frames. In some cases, illusions can be fun. In others, it's horribly painful. Why would anyone want perception to determine reality? Because it lets you play God. If God creates reality and your perception creates your own reality, then you get to be your own God. This really only comes up in terms of morality. A man will cheat on his wife and then try to argue that from his perspective, it's not immoral. He's trying to say, if I perceive it as being acceptable, then in my reality, it is acceptable. You won't find these people using the same argument to get out of the laws of physics. A man who cheats on his wife will still demand a parachute if you try to toss him out of an airplane without one. Oh, you can just suggest he simply choose not to perceive gravity, but he'll be all, give me a parachute, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Adulterers can be real crybabies. In summary, when you see something, you can see it as it really is. In other words, you perceive the truth, or you can see it differently than it really is. In other words, you see an illusion or special effects. You're welcome to argue with me and stubbornly cling to the idea that your perception creates your own personal reality, but I'll be laughing my way through a stuffed crust pizza while you're wiping your snot off of a glass door. Don't worry, I'll save you a slice. That's what friends are for. That's the truth. All right, I hope you appreciate that. And if you were one of the people who's enjoyed and experienced the what I call the glass door experience, let me know in the comments below. Or, and I forgot this, we have an email address, creationsoapbox at Gmail. You can email, actually you're emailing Wes, my producer, directly, but he shares them with me. If you got questions or comments, or you want us to know about the time that you face planted into what you thought was an open door, just let us know. We've all been there. In the meantime, here's Dr. Cheese with the Dr. Cheese Experience performing King of Hibachi. Enjoy, my friends.
You see, Gary was the king of hibachi. If you're patient and you can watch it. Gonna throw another shrimp on the Barbie. His dessert made of Cool Whip and Smarties. I tell you, Gary is the king of hibachi. The man hotter than a stolen Hitachi. While he cooking, we all play some bocce. Cause when Gary's around, it's a party. Oh, Gary, the king of hibachi. Yes, Gary, the star of the show. Oh, Gary, the king of hibachi. Oh, Gary, 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 I miss you so. I miss you so. I miss you so. You see, Gary was the king of hibachi, and he cooked with red wine and with scotchy. Pork roast was always top-notchy. I'm telling you, it's all true. But our king of hibachi went away. I know he will be back one fine day with bacon-wrapped steaks and creme brulee, and he'll start us with cheese on the fondue. Oh, Gary, the king of hibachi. Yes, Gary, the star of the show. Oh, Gary, the king of hibachi. Oh, Gary, 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 I miss you so. Oh, Gary, the king of hibachi. Yes, Gary, the star of the show. Oh, Gary, the king of hibachi. Oh, Gary, 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 I miss you so. 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 Oh, there he is. I guess he just went in to use the bathroom. Cool. Hey, Gary, we missed you.
King of Hibachi from the Dr. Cheese Experience, Dr. Cheese Experience music. So pretty much everything you've heard so far on this show, the Rent a Friend radio show, hosted by your friend, Bri from Shy. All of our music is available at Love and Muffins Music. Love and Muffins Music is Dr. Cheese's collection of musical rock power, friends, and the link is in the description. Check it out. We got more music coming up in the not too distant future here. We are going to be listening to a song from Sofa Drama. I have to write it down. I know I'm checking my notes because I have such a terrible short-term memory. All right. We're going to do another chapter here in the Socratic Ducky. So please, my friends, join me at the Socratic Ducky. Again, the book is available on Amazon. Both the link to that paperback edition or the free digital download is available at abitoforange.com under free books. Welcome to Chapter 7, The Duck is on the Floor, Truth and Illusion. A friend and I were walking down the street in the heart of Chicago, headed, I imagine, to find some food. Finding food is one of the very few selected reasons to be on the street in Chicago after dark, especially in the winter, from September 7th to April 14th, when the temperature drops low enough to cause all life functions to cease and then be blown away in the hurricane-like winds that roar through the ice-encrusted buildings. The other is to find entertainment, like the plethora of small theaters where actual actors stand on an actual stage and recite memorized lines. Or they drink beer and make it up as they go. I've been to both kinds of theater in Chicago, and the lesson there is, you get what you pay for. Of course, if you want to forego all the live actors, you can go find a movie theater or go to a friend's itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny one-bedroom apartment and watch a movie. We were not doing any of those things, so we must have been going for food, and by food I mean possibly coffee, since coffee is a food group which many city dwellers live on almost exclusively. Through the harsh and whipping winds, I was making casual conversation about how Jesus was the way, the truth, and the life. which was sort of a new thing for me back then. Not the truth of it, but me talking about it casually with people who hadn't explicitly asked me about it. Her reply was, well, that may be true for you, but it's not true for me. Her tone was so matter of fact that it was obvious she was not being sarcastic. I pondered her words and came to the conclusion that her brain must have frozen in the high winds. I started walking faster toward our destination, certain that haste would be imperative to our survival. "But what do you mean it's not true for you?" I asked. "Something is either true or it's not. There's no personal taste involved with reality." Again, she disagreed and told me, "Hey, it's great that you believe that, but it's not true for me." She said it in the plain matter-of-fact way in which one might say, "This smells like the number 5. I started to think she'd simply gone mad from an ice-encrusted cerebellum. Started to lose hope. Later, it would become clear to me that her brains had not frozen, but had been washed, if you catch my meaning. She had grasped onto one of the new philosophies being shoved down the throats of students at many colleges. This philosophy is that there are two kinds of reality, objective and subjective. Essentially, some things are true for everyone, like Tuesdays, the difference between centimeters and inches, or everything bagels. In addition, there are things that are only true if you believe in them. Most people who hold this view will put any morals or religious faith into the second category, and this is what my friend was doing. A thinking person might say, maybe they are simply saying that some things are just personal opinions, such as whether or not onion chunks are good in chili. This is not what this philosophy means. It means, I think your belief is stupid, but to say so would be closed-minded, so I'll pretend that you have your own little world. This is how Sox fans address the optimism of Cubs fans around here. Right, next year will be different. Editor's note, this was funnier before 2016? These kind of jokes would have worked consistently from 1908 until 2016, and then the Cubs thoughtlessly ruined this for me. But I digress. This philosophy actually means, and some people really try to believe this, that some things are true for you and not true for them at the same time. You each have your own experience of reality. You each have not your own experience of reality, but in fact, your own personal reality. This idea has its roots in Zen philosophy. I'd explain what Zen is, except that there is no definition. I've read Zen books. I even went to what claimed to be the official Zen website, and the only thing they all said is, the only way to know what Zen is to experience it. Although they freely admit you may think you're having a Zen experience, but you're really having a bad intestinal reaction from overdoing the spicy salsa on your burrito. Putting onion chunks in your chili might be another cause. Oh, I think I need an antacid. I'm having a Zen experience from that chili. It seems silly to the point of insane, but it's actually just the tip of the iceberg. The follow-up philosophy is this. There is no reality at all. Everything is subjective. Things are what you perceive or believe or choose them to be. There are serious flaws with this theory, the main one being that it's wrong. I had to explain this to a cousin of mine once. We were sitting in my living room, and he was sticking to the idea that what I perceive is true for me, and I was trying to explain that reality exists outside of our perceptions, or we would have nothing to perceive. I held up one of my 80 yellow rubber ducks that were all over the house. Suppose I believed this was a bright red bowling ball. Would that make it so? In your perception, it would be, he replied. But would it be a bright red bowling ball? Or is it a rubber duck? Well, I perceive it to be a rubber duck. Are you right? I asked. From my point of view, I am. This was making me insane. He was a college student. Isn't higher education supposed to make you smarter? Maybe it just makes you higher, but I digress. I held the duck out and I said, okay, I'm going to convince myself absolutely beyond a doubt that when I let go of this duck, it will float to the ceiling. Are you ready? And I dropped the duck. It fell to the floor next to me and I continued, let's say I really thought the duck was going to go up. And let's say I perceive the duck floating up. Even now, I can see the duck above me on the ceiling. Can I get the duck off the ceiling? If I got a ladder and climbed to the ceiling, would I come down with the duck? Where is the duck right now? Where do you have to go to get the duck? He eventually admitted that the duck was on the floor. It took me 40 minutes to get a college student to admit that a rubber duck was on the floor. Colleges used to teach people how to think, and now they teach them not to. This explains why he never cleaned up after himself. You need to do the dishes, I'd say. That's just your perception, man. Well, the idea that truth is subjective sounds great, because no one ever has to admit being wrong. It's also really nuts. It's kooky dukes wrapped in optimism and artificial sweeteners. The duck is on the floor, whether you perceive it or not. Like most wacky ideas of this kind, you just have to apply the idea to itself. Is it true for everyone that truth is subjective, or is it only true for you? Try that one out on someone. If they say it's only true for them, then you can tell them that you have a monopoly on truth because you perceive reality the way it really is, regardless of your point of view. They'll be tempted to argue that their philosophy is true for everyone, at which point you can point out they have acknowledged a universal truth which is objective, proving that objective truth does exist, allowing for some viewpoints to be more or less true depending on how their perception lines up with what is real. At this point, they'll take their grande, skinny, sugar-free caramel latte and storm out into the blustery Chicago night in a rage. But don't worry if your friends don't come back to you. Just wait until the spring thaw. They'll turn up somewhere when the snow starts to melt. Trust me on this one. I've been there. All right, once again, if you have any questions or comments about this, send us an email at creationsoapbox@gmail.com. In the meantime, my friends, I would like to introduce you to a song which is going to be a little bit weird. This is our good friends Sofa Drama performing Death Burger.
Late at night, in the heart of town, there's a place that's open when the sun goes down. Neon lights flickering in the midnight haze, a grand illusion where darkness plays. Grim is tired of his deadly ways, change of pace in these modern days. Death Burger takes its toll, but he don't mind spreading smiles one patty at a time. Come take a bite at Death Burger's door. Forget the hearse and drop the sun on the floor. Serving happiness with every fry. Death Burger blues will make you fly high. Come take a bite at Death Burger's door. Forget the hearse and drop the sun on the floor. Serving happiness with every fry. Death Burger blues will make you fly high.
Death Burger brought to you by Sofa Drama. I love that song. It's actually a series of songs about the Death Burger saga. You're going to hear more of those in future installments of Rent a Friend Radio, right here on Rent a Friend Radio. I am Bri from Shy, your best friend at a reasonable hourly rate. Well, I'm not your best friend. I'm your worst friend, but I'm your best worst friend. All right, let's go to one more bit of perception, reality, and truth. This, my friends, is Chapter 8 of the Socratic Ducky, again available at abitoforange.com under free books. The free digital download is there, but if you want to buy a paperback, if you want a book in paper, made of paper, a paper book. Okay, the coffee is cold, the Coke Zero is gone. I'm starting to get decaffeinated. The show is free, so don't complain. All right, welcome to Chapter 8, where I'm going to start off by doing some terribly offensive interpretations of people I've not listened to in a long time. Don't tell them I did this. Chapter 8, Sean's shirt is red. Perception, reality, and truth. I recently listened to a podcast wherein the host attempted to make a point about the universal nature of truth by first appealing to what color his shirt is. I think I can help streamline his argument. It goes like this. The scene. Sean is wearing a red shirt and talking to his wife, True Asia, and their friend Cook, aka Cook Dog, aka the Drumma Beast Boy, aka Saint Nick, aka Captain Platypus of Space Patrol. Some of these nicknames might not be accurate, but I haven't listened to this podcast in a while. Sean, my shirt is red. True Asia, no, your shirt is black. Cook, you both be tripping. Your shirt be green. Sean, I think you mean to say you both are tripping. Your shirt is green. Cook, yes, of course. Excuse me. Your shirt is green. True Asia, spoken like a gentleman. There's the metaphysical map again. Where are we at here? All right, so God creates reality, by which I mean creation, both material and spiritual creations, things made by God, who himself is uncreated. So we perceive what is real. We can either perceive it accurately or not accurately. All right, so that's roughly where we are. Step 1, shared perception supports an external reality to be perceived. Fact, they each perceive the shirt differently. Fact, they do each perceive the shirt. Fact, perception requires something to perceive. If the shirt was not real, they would not all perceive it at all. If it were a hallucination, only one of them would perceive it. Dreams and hallucinations are never shared. Thus, a shared perception requires something real to be perceived. Therefore, the shirt is real. The 3 independent perceptions prove it does exist, even though they disagree with some details. It is not an illusion or a hallucination or what politicians and journalists refer to as a press release or the polls or statistics. But I digress. Step 2, the law of non-contradiction means differing perceptions cannot all be true at the same time in the same way. Fact, as we saw in step 1, the shirt actually exists. It is real. Fact, a real object will reflect a certain wavelength of light while absorbing others. In other words, it will be a certain color. See your box of crayons for details. Fact, one color is not another color. Red is not black, green is not yellow, etc. See the labels on your crayons for further details. Therefore, if the shirt is red, it is not black or green. If it is green, it is not black or red, etc. Again, Crayola has given you all the information you need on this or will ever need in convenient boxes of 64 with a sharpener in the back. Sean, True, and Cook cannot all be correct. At least 2 of them must be wrong. Step 3. If one perception accurately describes what is, then differing perceptions must be in error. Fact, if the shirt is red, it is not black or green. Only in a discussion of philosophy would this have to be stated. The world's a weird place, kids. Fact, color is determined by the wavelength of light, not by the perception. A yellow taxi remains yellow, even when no one sees it, or when it is seen by a colorblind person who cannot see the color yellow. His limited perception would not change the wavelength of the light coming from the taxi. Fact, Sean's shirt is reflecting a light wavelength range of roughly 630 to 740 nanometers, which is, and what most human eyes perceive as, the color red. Yes, I looked this up on Wikipedia. Don't you judge me. Therefore, Sean's perception is correct, and his assertion, my shirt is red, is true. Cook and True's perception and or assertions are false. Either they see it incorrectly and are honest about what they see, or they are seeing it correctly but they are lying, or both. Step 4. Different perceptions do not change the reality perceived. Fact, light is necessary for us to see, but we do not need to see light for it to exist. In other words, our perception allows us to be aware of light. It does not make the light. The light exists outside of our perception. Fact, the light reflected by Sean's shirt would remain the same color even if no one saw it, or if no one saw it correctly. A room full of colorblind people might all agree that Sean's shirt is black, but they would all be wrong. it still reflects a light wavelength of roughly 630 to 740 nanometers, aka red. The reality has not changed, but their perceptions cannot accurately see what is real. Therefore, reality, of which light is one part, exists outside of and independent of our perceptions, knowledge, and beliefs. Step 5. Truth is saying of what is that it is, or of what is not that it is not. Fact. Reality is independent of our perceptions, knowledge, and beliefs. Fact. Truth is word or thought accurately reflecting reality, describing what is real. Therefore, truth exists independently of our perceptions, knowledge, or beliefs. Conclusion. Because there are multiple perceptions of his shirt, we know Sean's shirt is real, and there are true facts about it, like what color it is, and false statements concerning it, like saying it is green when it is in fact red. Because there is one reality, of which the shirt and all of us are part, then the truth about the shirt is true for all of us, even if we do not perceive or know or believe that truth. It is true that Sean's shirt is red, even if we do not see, know, or believe that it is, because the truth is not determined by our perception, knowledge, or belief, but by the real shirt. In other words, by reality. In short, there is no true for you. There is real, and if you see real as it really is, you perceive the truth. If you see it as it is not, then you do not see the truth. And that, my friends, is the truth. I mean, this is how it goes. So I hope all that made sense. Basically, it is what it is. And if you see it wrong, you didn't see what is. But again, that's what makes magic tricks better. All right, my friends, we are about out of time here at the Rent-A-Friend Radio Show. Thank you for joining us on Rent-A-Friend Radio. And we're going to be back with more rock power, with more philosophy, more fun stuff. We're going to get into science. We're going to get into history. Remember,
loves you is the message we send. Thanks for letting me be your Rent-A-Friend.
Jesus loves you.
Rent-A-Friend 2000. He's your bargain bin hero. Talks like he's 30. Much already at zero. He's your friend to all. Answers when you call. Rent-A-Friend 2000. Best worst friend of all. Yeah, your best worst friend of all. You're listening to Rent-A-Friend Radio.